Good morning and welcome. Today we are going to talk about the miracle inside us. Now, as part of the web of life around us, we all embody the miraculous. We're all a part of the miracles all across the earth and everything that is in a constant state of change and motion. But today we're going to focus on the inner human transformations and miracles that take place. So changes of heart. There are inner changes that happen in all of us that are so deep and complete and meaningful, both meaningful to ourselves and to others, that they can seem miraculous. But how do these changes happen? What moves a person from indifference to suddenly caring, or from greed to generosity? So we're fast coming upon the Christmas season. Think about Ebenezer Scrooge in A Christmas Carol, right? He's this old miser that's very stingy about his money. You see him in the beginning, he's counting his money out, and he makes his employee work Christmas Day, and not a very nice guy. But by the end of the movie, he has this miraculous transformation, inner transformation, or change of heart. And all of a sudden, it's like a light clicks on and he gets it. And it took some time for that to happen, right? But then all of a sudden, he had this change of heart, and he's so generous, and he's bringing turkey to Tiny Tim and wishing everyone a happy Christmas. And so that's a great example of a change of heart. But how does that happen? So I'm going to tell you another story, an old Celtic folktale from Ireland, which I enjoy because that's mostly my heritage. And I want you to notice what changes or transformations take place in this story. It's called How Bridget Got Lands for the Poor. And this is a traditional Celtic story from Ireland. And this particular version of it, there are a few of them out there. This one is as told by Erica Helm Mead in her book of wisdom tales, The Moon in the Wall. Long ago in Ireland, a few wealthy landowners owned great tracts of fertile land, while the poor were forced up into the rocky hills to eke out a living from sparse soil. One year, the crops went bad, and the poor could barely scrape together an onion or a carrot for their supper. Bridget went to one of the richest landowners and said, "The harvest is grim this year, and the peasants need your help." The landowner replied, "Ah, Bridget, I'll think on it, but in truth, if the people would only work harder, they could surely fend for themselves." A few weeks passed, and the situation grew worse. Bridget went again to the landholder and said, "The peasants have no food. They've taken to the hills to eat shamrocks and grass. What will you do for them?" "Now, Bridget," said the landowner, "don't get pushy. I'm a busy man. Why is it you're here talking to me when you should be talking to the peasants about what they can do for themselves? I have no time for this. Now be gone with you." Another week passed, and the situation became grave. Bridget went to the landholder, and in a rage she cried, "You've done nothing to help, and now the children are starving. I demand that you give land to the poor." "Well, Bridget," said the landowner, "it couldn't be that bad. You don't look too starved yourself, nor lacking for warm clothes. 'Tis a fine wool cloak you wear on your back. Let it not be said that I'm a stingy man. Here's what we'll do. You go out to the plain, choose any spot, spread your white cloak on the ground, and the plot that it covers, I'll donate that to the poor." "Tax-free?" asked Bridget. "All right, tax-free," said the landowner, "but don't ask for anything more." So that day, Bridget and the three of her sisters went out to the very center of the fertile plain. Each took a corner of the white cloak. Bridget said, "All right now, girls, pull it taut." So they did, and then Bridget cried, "Now take a step backwards." Each of them took a step back, one to the north, one to the south, one to the east, and one to the west. And as they did, the cloak expanded. Then Bridget cried, "All right, keep walking." And they did, and as they did so, the cloak continued to expand until it covered the whole expanse of the plain. That afternoon, as usual, the landowner went up to his tower to look out and survey his lands. At first glance, it looked as if snow had fallen. Then he saw that the rocks above were bare. The cloak, he whispered, falling to his knees, now seeing Providence at work in the matter. When he saw Bridget striding up the walkway, he leaned out the window and cried, "Mercy, Bridget, I'll keep my word. The whole of the plain belongs to the poor, and I'll throw in 100 bags of oat seed that they might prosper by it." "That's fine for tomorrow," said Bridget, "but what will you do for today?" "For today," said the landowner, "why, a feast today, a feast for all." "What sort of a feast?" asked Bridget. "Why, a feast of stews and roasts and compotes and mashes and stuffings and jellies and cakes," replied the landholder. "And bags to take home?" said Bridget. "Why, of course, bags to take home," assured the landholder. "Very well then," said Bridget, "I'll spread the word." "Aye, Bridget, I'm sure you will. And I don't mind saying that if you spread the word as efficiently as you spread that cloak, not a soul will miss this feast." So that is the story of Bridget and her cloak. And it does kind of reminds me of the Christmas Carol and Scrooge, because all of a sudden this bestial man who was just very greedy and did not want to help others, all of a sudden he wants to share a feast with the others, and he had a change of heart, just like Ebenezer Scrooge did. So let's go over some of the changes that happened in this story. The poor and hungry people, they got more land, and so which means for them more food. And the big change was that the landowner changed from selfish, a greedy, uncaring man to a generous person who was kind and fair and nice. And if you sort of take a step back and look at the larger picture too, another transformation took place was that things just became more fair in that valley. So do you think these changes were miraculous? When the landowner saw the stretched out cape, why does he keep his agreement with Bridget? Why didn't he just say, "Hey, you tricked me," and get out of it? I mean, it could be that Bridget's dramatic actions, they opened the landowner's eyes to the people's hunger. And maybe he hadn't really noticed the problem before. And when she sort of showed it, just maybe her words weren't enough of just saying, "We're hungry," and that he was still sort of able to like block it all out and not think about it and not look at the problem. But maybe by spreading out her cloak the way she did and helped him to really see the problem. And so Bridget, I mean, how did that happen with the cloak, right? But she had this fire of justice inside of her. She wanted to put things right. And maybe she felt that so strongly, that burned so strong in her, that the landowner felt that. And that helped him have a change of heart to be a kinder person. So in the coming week, what I want you to think about is, can you think of any situations where your strong feelings about what's fair could make a change inside of someone else, just like Bridget's strong feelings and belief in justice changed the heart of the rich landowner, and a change inside of someone else who maybe they don't see the problem yet. They just don't see it. So how would you show your inner fire to them the way Bridget stretched her cape out? So I want to end today with a wonderful quote by Thomas Edison. You know, I like my quotes, and this one I thought was quite wonderful. It says, "If we did the things we are capable of, we would astound ourselves." I love that. I will see you next time. Have a great week.